Hello, everyone. This will be another series that'll be going on along the same side of Season 2 of What If Deku Had Sticky Fingers. I will periodically peer out more stuff through other than this and Sticky Fingers, because other people like other shit, and that's just how life is. But, yeah. Now that we're here, this is what if Izuku was a part of Clan Nosferatu. Let's get it into the story, yeah? There will be a link to a channel in the description and to a video as well, for those people who look deep into lore. You could scutter in the description, click that, and you could basically have the big ass notebook full of the shit and fairly manageable bite-sized pieces. But we're gonna begin that most stories do. Izuku, when he was young, he was always extremely inquisitive, you know? But he had this friend, well, not friend, it's more like weird relationship with this kid across the street who was like only up at wee hours of the night. This kid, right? This kid always talked to him a lot, right? And he was being scouted at an extremely young age to become what he would be then and there. To become a vampire. To become kindred. The question is, which one? Which one? But unknowing to the people who were scouting him, Izuku already had dibs. A man by the name of Shire already had claimed him to be a part of his clan. After all, his ghoul was the mother, after all. So during that little engagement with Izuku and this kid, almost immediately after, about 2 weeks, that child would eventually step off and really wouldn't be seen again by Izuku. Because that child was also a vampire, but we're not going to get into that. There are many rules in the culture of vampire. But the most important one is, make sure no humans know of your existence. That is pretty self-explanatory. But the way Izuku was at a young age was surprising. Because Izuku, yeah, sure, he would sleep, but he would do weird stuff. he would have learned extremely quickly. Like, even for a world with zero powers in present day, he learned incredibly fast. And by God, did he learn fast by himself. At the age of 9, 10-ish, about pretty late into the night, Izuku was kinda waiting to do this for a while. He's been able to sneak it most of the stuff he needed past his mother, which he did end up finding out that he was adopted as a baby. Which then caused Izuku to just start looking into things. He ended up finding a very weird tunnelway from the basement, which his mother always told him, never go in the basement. You'll hurt yourself down there. He understands his mother just wishes to take care of him, but Izuku's most certainly a kid of action and reconnaissance. That night, he puts on the darkest pitch clothing that he has, which is something that doesn't squeak, and he just kind of wraps his feet because in like cloth and stuff, basically putting socks on like that he was meant to take to church, like black socks, meant for like dress shoes. So he then took a flashlight and began very late at night, like I'm talking 12 for a kid, like 12, almost 11:45 at night. Just kind of sneaks down the stairs, realizes the basement door is locked, and he's seen his mom do this a couple times. When she accidentally locked the door and forgot that the keys were in the house, she just kind of picked the lock with one of her bobbies, with one of the bobby pins. So this should be, it's going to be difficult getting in a room, but hey, she's a heavy sleeper. So what Izuku does, sneak back upstairs, and unknowing to him, he was being watched by this man. The man that, well, was scouting him to see if he could become a Nos. He already shown incredible proficiency when it came down to sneaking around. He was impressed. He wanted to see how far he would go. So he ended up following the boy upstairs. He goes back to the boy and realizes that young little Izuku is taking about 6 bobby pins from Mother's dresser, and Mother doesn't seem to notice. And slowly, taking about 5 minutes, Izuku is extremely slow. All about it, so he's able to get out the room and shut the door. Really, really quickly. Well, not quickly, but quietly. Then goes back down the stairs. And then grabs a butter knife from the kitchen and proceeds to get to work. He tries for a solid 5 more minutes. Izuku has always been a patient boy, so he'd wait. And same with the man following him. He's interested to see if he could pick it. These are good locks. And then the door slightly opens. Izuku nods at himself, puts both the lock, well, not the lock, but his little bundle of bobbies in his pocket. Same with the butter knife. And he slowly begins to make his way down the crickety stairs. And he is becoming more and more impressed with this boy. Watching the competence. Granted, he's still a child and he's not trained, but he was better than him when he was a fucking... But like said, in most situations, he figured out that, well, at his age, he was much better at snaking than he was, at the very least. Color this very, very old nosferato impressed. Apparently, he might be cut out for the line of work. Especially with the disciplines at his disposal. Hell, he might even be a better ghoul, but we'll see. Now, during the little excursion that Izuku takes into the basement, he would come across a door, which then he would begin to attempt to lockpick. The man knows that this lock is much better than the one upstairs. So, he wishes to see if he could pick it. And again, another picked door. Izuku has practiced this on the bathroom door, to be honest, at nighttime. He's gotten really good. As Izuku goes down there, he just sees lights. So what Izuku does is puts his hood up. And he has one of those hoods with where you could zip up the front, where you could have like almost a mask. And that's what Izuku does. But in all reality, Izuku may or may not have accidentally gotten black paint all over the white bits that would have made up the small skull that would be put there. And I mean, Izuku's patient. That and his mother has gotten him really cool toys. One of those toys being a kind of... It's an interesting thing. It's almost like it's basically one of those invisible laser tripwires. Wires that you could get. And since Izuku is 10 in this age, he has a phone. It's not the best phone on the market, but it'll work for what Izuku plans to do. He did set it up in his mother's room. Right next to the bed while he was there. Because he's gonna have to put her slippers on somehow. He stopped after getting down the stairs and almost immediately dove and rolled, making very little noise. Noise to a small box that's big enough to cover a child of his size. But Izuku then proceeds to look around a little bit and realizes that no one's there. Looks up. No one there either. Because, let's be frank, Izuku is one of those kids that hides in trees when he plays hide and seek. The best place to hide is where people don't expect you. Above or below. Izuku sees the fact that there is no one down here, but he will be curious. He did shut that door upstairs, and it was kind of creaky. So he knows if there was someone down here, they would have heard him. And then what Izuku sees is a laptop, still on and open. Izuku goes over there quietly, but before doing anything, he just looks at the camera on the top of the laptop screen, and he's just like, before I get in the way of that, just in case the camera's on, what he does is kind of take his clothes, kind of put it around his hand because it's an oversized little hoodie. Excuse me. Whew. Camera gets covered up by the hoodie, the cloth specifically, not Izuku's fingers, and he begins to look at it. At the stuff that's on it, like, almost immediately. He's looking more and more, and then he finds an email. And he finds that interesting, and he reads that. And unknowing to Izuku, well, his mother would awake and put her slippers on, which would then cause Izuku's phone to vibrates slightly. He looks at the phone, back at the computer, puts everything to the best of his ability back to where it was. And then he proceeds to look up at parts of the roof of the sub-basement that might be easy to get to. So, what he does is simple. It's a wooden crate. I should not have said box. The thing that Izuku hid behind. It was more of a crate. He stands on it, jumps, grabs a pillar, almost slips, but he doesn't. He hears the door creak and someone moving down the stairs. Not fast, but... Izuku put a dummy upstairs. He doesn't hear the door shut back either, so that's lucky for him. He hurls himself over the small little piece of wood holding up that part of the room and just waits. And he sees his mother come downstairs. Looking around for a moment, neglecting to look up, and goes to the computer. He is, how to say, out of everything involving Izuku, he didn't think this far ahead. And he knows that this might be a grounding if he does get caught, so he waits. 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, 15, 20. And his mother begins to go deeper in. Izuku nods his head a couple times. Waits a couple seconds. Long to him, another 2 minutes. Works his way off the railing and drops, landing with a roll on the floor, or right behind the box. Looking over, seeing where his mother went. Slowly but surely sneaking. Closer and closer to where the mother would be. He looks at the door and realizes there's... That's a strange smell. He smells the scent of iron. He goes deeper into the seemingly underground complex, where he sees the mother almost, how to say, while talking to someone on the phone about a shipment. He remembers reading the the emails talking about a shipment of, what was it? Elder blood? Izuku didn't understand the exact thing, but hey, it's ShrekNet. That's the only reason that the internet is being used, because of ShrekNet 2.0. Mr. Ballard, at the very least, knows how to keep that up. Izuku, seeing a door close by to his mother, he looks around, sees some more crates that he could hide behind. Sneak over and look in the crates. He proceeds to find very weird instruments that would be on the surgery shows Mom would watch. He doesn't really understand, but hey, that's a thing, he guesses. He ducks back down from the box. The mother would seemingly go back into the other room which Izuku came from, almost in a huff, still talking about the shipment on the phone. Hearing something about how Vosnor will not be pleased with this. Vosnor being the man who called dibs, and who is watching this boy very closely. And what he does is he looks at the extra phone there, because they kind of used an interesting, weird landline that had two phones. So what he did, he picked it up, he kept the speaker away from his head, and he listened to the phone. Almost immediately, and no one would have noticed on the conversation, so now I could start giving you the juicy details. Vosnor's pet project is starting to become seemingly much more competent. Watch him. I don't know, Jess. He's just a kid. He can't be capable of that much, right? Like, you're probably right. But still, he is asleep. Of course he is. I checked his room before I came down here. Good. Apparently Voss was also doing something tonight. He was going to check something. But, yeah. No, the shipment should be arriving pretty soon. But other than that, should be fine. Alright, later. Alright, bye. Almost immediately, as he hears one hang up, another hangs up. And that other one was Izuku. And Izuku, almost immediately, while that was happening, another pop and another lock was unlocked. He put a phone back on the placement holder where it was supposed to be, opens that door, shuts that door, locks it from the other side. Unknowing to him that his nosferato, who soon-to-be master was watching him very carefully. He was impressed. Those were 3 fairly difficult locks to pick. And at the age of 10, I knew that his babysitter said he was playing with knives and mother's bobby pins, but I didn't think he would be picking locks this early. Little street rat. Izuku goes deeper, and the smell of this iron-esque substance is starting to get thicker in the air. And recently a tooth was pulled. Well, he pulled a tooth out by himself. And it kind of smells like blood. Izuku doesn't pay any mind to it. Really? Doesn't slow him down, but it does make him a bit more cautious. And during that, he hears the door unlock and open behind him, as, thank God, the fact that there is a box right there in this hallway, where he ducks and tries to do his best to conceal himself. Well, right next to it, right on the opposite side of the door. Hopefully she doesn't look over. He takes a hold of his breath as he sees his mother walk past. Looking over towards Izuku and clearly not noticing him. And she truly didn't, because she wasn't expecting anything to go wrong down here. It's like just an elongated shadow. As Izuku was undetected again, he was impressed. Voss was impressed by this child's performance so far. How much could he go? How much of a nos is he? Izuku then proceeds to follow behind his mother again in the exact same tempo of her feet and the sound of her slippers against the ground on the hard, cold stone floor. As she opens the door, she walks in. She doesn't close it this time. She hasn't really been closing doors. So, what Izuku did is simple. He walked behind her, same motion, and proceeded to duck behind barrels and other such things. He then proceeded to see and feel, oh, fuck, it's starting to get cold. Like, why the fuck is it so cold all of a sudden? And then he realizes, are these blood bags? It's just like, he kind of picks one up and looks at it, plays with it in his hand a little bit, sets it back down in its neat little triangle-esque pyramid-like pile, and goes back again. Begin almost swerving through it, almost following Mother on a T. All the way until a door would open and a man would come through. And it's like, Alright, I got it. Thank God. Voss would be fucking furious if he didn't get this shit tonight. I know. Oh, not the time. How's the kid doing? Izuku's doing good. Oh, that's good. That's good. Man, you ever wonder what is like Voss sees in Izuku? Eh, he's a really clever kid. Like, what do you mean clever? He's smarter than most, and he could put together things a lot faster than most people. Jack nods and scans the room. And out of the corner of his eye, he's not sure if he's seen it, but just a shadow. A slight movement. He looks at it harder this time, actually turning his attention, and begins walking over to it. Izuku hears the footsteps getting closer. Izuku matches the time of his footsteps, almost to use as a mirroring shield, as the man sets a box down right next to where Izuku is, but he doesn't see Izuku. After he turns around and sits on the box, he sees the fact that this man's phone is poking out of the back pocket, as well as and he sees the fact that it was just on. He didn't shut it back off. So he reaches his hand up and slowly but surely is able to take it out of the man's pocket. It begins to look through things on his phone. Texts between him and some other people, and one labeled Voss, and he's curious. He does see a fair few messages. And then he realizes something. How the fuck am I going to put it back in his pocket? He's basically fucking sitting on it. I think I'll know what I'll have to do. So, what he does, he puts it in a precarious position to where too much movement on the crate that he is sitting on, it would fall off. And slowly but surely he begins to make his way out. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, 4. Moves as quiet as a mouse. He pulls out a penny. Izuku does. And wings it at the phone, hitting it just enough for it to fall off and making a skittering sound with the coin as well, causing both of their attention to be drawn to it. But the adopted mother of Izuku, and this Jack fellow. Izuku takes that chance to skitter out the door. He doesn't shut any of them. He leaves them exactly how he did the first time. He gets out of the basement. He looks around. He goes to the fridge, gets himself a soda because he feels accomplished, goes upstairs, drinks that shit, and goes to sleep. He feels like a champion. But Izuku begins to... Well, he doesn't write things down in a notebook. Well, he does write it down in a notebook, but that notebook doesn't leave him at all, which has his own little fucking conspiracy paper at the age of 10. And he basically flips to a new page that says, adopted mother. Izuku then proceeds to put Jesse and Jack, underlining both of them, forgetting the name of the man who they were talking about. Vincent, maybe. He just knows it starts with a V. So he puts a capital V underneath both of their names. Well, above both of their names that were side by side, and draws a line to each. Then he makes almost a speech bubble-esque comic thing right next to Jack's name and says, I have a shipment of elder blood, underline elder blood, and put a question mark right next to it. Izuku was an inquisitive child at the age of 10. Vincent was pleased. He knew he had some fucking potential. He fucking smelt it on him. He knew this boy was competent. Maybe he will be an amazing nosferato. But until then, the night is getting early in the day. It is time for him to go to his home. To his little territory in the sewer. But he will now keep a very close eye on this Izuku boy. For he is destined for greatness. Now, for all of you watching, I really do thank you. And what do you think about it? What do you think about this? For people who are into Vampire the Masquerade and know what VTM is, it's a dark setting. People die in it all the time. There's corruption in the police. Nothing much changed there. But, no, I'm playing. But, in all reality, there's nothing. It's a dark setting filled with vampires, werewolves, and fairies. So, in the most literal sense, hence, it is a clusterfuck in itself. But I hope all of you have enjoyed. And have a very wonderful day.